Published in 1957, some 15 years after The Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged is Ayn Rand's most successful novel, selling over 9 million copies and translated into 30 languages, considered her magnum opus. Just like The Fountainhead, it too pursues philosophical themes such as individualism, rationality, and capitalism, but with a dystopian setting, similar to George Orwell's 1984. When things go south in the US as the welfare states take over and over-regulate things to the point that businesses collapse and innovators are stifled. But in this novel, Ayn Rand further elaborates on her new philosophical school of objectivism, that there is nothing but objective reality and no better tool than reason. Themes such as religion, God, altruism, collectivism, and equality are nothing but pipe dreams. So the novel pits two opposing forces in the United States. On the one hand, we have the over-regulating state on the verge of collapse, and on the other hand, we have private businesses who see their productivity is used to feed the less productive members of society through the welfare state. At the heart of the novel, we have a power couple. Not some social media one, but a real powerful couple. Dagny Taggart, a railway executive, and her lover, Hank Reardon, a steel magnate, who are both recruited by John Galt, an objectivist philosopher and a visionary, to abandon their businesses to teach the US a lesson that they are the real backbone of the American economy. Ayn Rand introduces us to a really powerful woman, Dagny Taggart, perhaps to compensate for the criticism she received after the publication of her first novel, The Fountainhead, for not championing women. Dagny is a badass railway executive, competent, rational, and spirited under extreme economic crisis, mostly due to tightly regulated economy and nationalization of industries. Meanwhile, Hank Reardon, a steel magnate, has similar problems with an overreach of state and interfering with business. But business is not his only problem. He has also issues at home with his wife. So Ayn Rand has set things up for Dagny and Hank, two struggling souls, to meet. They meet when Dagny opens her new railroad. The love is almost at first sight. They end up in bed together. We are animals after all. Forget about business or marriage or America. Let's make the most of what we have. Copulate. They find each other's company very enjoyable, so they go on holiday together. While on holiday, they stumble upon a factory with a mysterious but ingenious machine that runs on static electricity. It appears the scientists who invented the machine abandoned it for some reason, and nobody knows who that person is. The two hire an engineer to reconstruct the machine, but red tape after red tape means they have to abandon it all. The government learned about the sexual affair between Dagny and Hank, so they use it to blackmail him into compliance over his business. If you have not noticed, the government is the bad guys in this novel. Ayn Rand's heroes are business leaders. This is very unconventional in literature because normally the good guys tend to be someone from outside. It is hard to make Jeff Bezos the hero of a novel or Elon Musk, but that's precisely what Rand does in this novel. Dagny one day meets a homeless man who tells him about a man named John Galt. But who is he? It turns out he's the inventor of this new machine that runs on static electricity. Ayn Rand makes some of the scenes a bit too far-fetched, but let's go with it. Dagny, while chasing one of her employees on a plane, crash lands somewhere remote. But it turns out this place is occupied by a mysterious group of people. Who are they? Amish people? No, these people are headed by none other than the engineer who invented the new yet abandoned machine, John Galt. Why are they here in this remote valley? It turns out John Galt is leading a strike of brilliant minds and creative workers against the government and its over-regulation. Some are business leaders, some are artists, some are engineers. All the creative and productive minds that run the economy, so to speak. As expected, love is in the air. Ayn Rand's woman falls in love with powerful, charismatic men. Dagny is in love with John Galt, the cult leader. Maybe cult is not the right word. The philosopher or the visionary is perhaps a fairer term. John Galt asks her to join them in the strike, but she is torn between her job at the railway company and her new love. At the end, she reluctantly leaves the business hippies and returns to her work. But things have gone from bad to worse. The country has turned into a proper authoritarian state. But wait, the philosopher John Galt leaves his hippie camp and returns to New York in pursuit of the Lady Dagny. While in New York, he hacks into a radio station to broadcast his Communist Manifesto. Oops, I meant his Objectivist Manifesto, in which he tells the nation that there is no other reality but objective reality, and no force is more powerful than rationality, and no goal is more virtuous than pursuit of our self-interest, and so on. After talking for 3 hours on the radio, he leaves, but before he reunites with his lover Dagny or returns to his capitalist hippie camp, he's arrested by New York Police Department. The government first tries to recruit him to restore the country, but he refuses. Then they waterboard him a few times. Okay, but they do torture him a bit, and soon enough the whole system crumbles and all the workers unite. I'm joking. When the government collapses, those on strike return to the city to reclaim their government. The novel ends when the new people are in charge, so you could read it as a capitalist fiction. At the heart of this novel is this question: what if, instead of workers going on strike, the business leaders, prime engineers, the creative minds went on strike? So Ayn Rand takes a socialist premise of workers stop working and turns it on its head. What if their executives and leaders went on strike? To put it somewhat crudely, it asks, what if the flock had no leader? Where would the reindeers go without their alpha females? Or what would happen to the pride without the male lion? Ayn Rand argues that human civilization only flourished when they had robust and competent leaders. By setting the novel on industries, Rand wanted to remind us that when it comes to infrastructure, it was the brilliant innovators and inventors who moved society, not the bureaucrats at the government. It is people like John Galt on the ground who invents the new machine. The title Atlas Shrugged also symbolizes that we often take for granted and do not notice or appreciate that it's Atlas, the Greek titan who holds the earth on its back. The only way we appreciate something is when we lose it. It's like we don't notice garbage collectors unless they stop working for a few weeks. Then we notice that the town starts to stink. Ethical egoism. The underlying philosophy of the novel is ethical egoism, which means that since we are inherently selfish, it makes us rational about it. Not only is selfishness not a bad thing, it should be encouraged. When we realize our self-interest, we do our best to work for it, and once everyone is rationally selfish, then society operates better because we all know what other people want, so we do our best to offer value. This in turn promotes honesty, fairness, independence, and most importantly, productivity. Humans are inherently lazy and always take the path of least resistance. So if we can get away with by not doing anything, most of us would take that path. To counter that, Ayn Rand proposes selfishness as a virtue and everyone is transparent about it. Now, nobody can hide behind the mask of altruism or virtue signal for something they don't really mean. In contrast, according to Rand, socialism, fascism, or any other form of collectivism or even a religious-based society would inevitably lead to some members of society being productive while some relying on others for subsistence. This is a common criticism directed at the welfare state by the right and the conservatives. The novel also refers to those in favor of higher taxes or strong government and government bureaucrats and those surviving on welfare as looters, moochers, and parasites. Quote, "So you think that money is the root of all evil? Have you asked what is the root of money? Money is a tool of exchange which cannot exist unless there are goods produced and men able to produce them. Money is not the tool of the moochers who claim your product by tears, or the looters who take it from you by force. Money is made possible only by the men who produce." So the novel rejects any form of handouts by the government. Instead, it promotes that everyone should work for what they want. In other words, the elites of society is often demonized by the media and the populace as corrupt. But the novel takes a big swipe at the government as the main agency of corruption. Of course, just like the previous novel, many critics, especially those on the left, condemned the book for a variety of reasons. One major criticism was its atheism, and others criticized it for promoting selfishness. If there's one thing you'll learn about Ayn Rand is that she didn't care about what people thought of her. She went against the dominant way of thinking. So while the novel has been extremely popular among the masses, to some extent it was pushed aside by the literary establishment. Literature in general tends to favor heroes who are outsiders, powerless, and poor. Ayn Rand didn't give an S about that and made her heroes top executives and big bosses and some brilliant engineers. She had balls. Swimming with the current is an easy thing to do, but swimming against the current is a lot harder. In fairness, she wasn't alone. The American anti-communist sentiment did help her and her career, so she was not swimming totally by herself. There were big sharks swimming by her. Now I'll discuss 7 lessons we can learn from her life and her writings.